Welcome to another video. This is Coach Aaron, and today we're going to be going over a game that I played a few years ago against a gentleman, Robert Green. He's also a local coach here in other part of San Antonio, and he has a really successful elementary school team. But we've played many games over the years, and this is one game in particular from 2021 that was highly instructive, and I want to show that to you and share what happens if your opponent makes mistakes early in the opening. They can really be punished, and so we want to learn from these mistakes. So the first move, I was here with the white pieces. I start off with e4, taking the center, and my opponent plays c5, which is the Sicilian defense. Very popular first move for black against white's e4. You will see this a lot if you decide to play competitively. It's very popular. And so we continue with the standard line, knight f3, d6 now, and then c4. Now white is getting into the main lines of Sicilian, and so at this point in the game I expected that my opponent was really well prepared and that we were going to have a really intense game. But then this next move came as a surprise and was the beginning of Mr. Green's problems. He plays here d5. And now I give this evaluation. It's considered a dubious move because you just wasted a tempo. We moved the pawn up one square, and then on one move, and the very next move, we moved it up another space. So it took us two moves to make the same move for the pawn that we could have just done in one move. So we wasted a move by moving the pawn first to d6 and then to d5. And there really wasn't much of a justification here. And we'll see here in how this ended up becoming bad for him. So typically in the openings, you want to move a pawn one time and only once. Moving a pawn multiple times in the opening is just asking for trouble for your position. So here I continue by taking the pawn. E takes d5, and Mr. Green recaptures the pawn with his queen, which is another, I gave this another dubious evaluation because the queen here on d5 is exposed and she's going to come under attack. In a general sense, we don't want to bring our queen out too early because when we do, she's going to get attacked and could get into trouble. And what happens in this next move is that I just gain time. So because black already lost a move here with d5, and then after now queen takes on d5, I respond knight to c3, attacking the queen with my knight, and now the queen has to move again. So the queen is just wasting a lot of time here. And so black gets the queen out of the way, and then with check on my king, which seems like, okay, that seems like a valuable move. But another problem is that now this bishop is blocked in from getting into the game because of the queen. So the queen will perhaps later in the game, if black wants to move the bishop to g4 at some point, will have to move the queen again. So a lot of time is being wasted here by the black side in all these moves. So let's continue. So I play bishop to e3, and now we block the check, and at the same time we're developing a piece. So you'll notice I have all my pieces out, minor pieces out. The bishop's got a clear line of sight here on b5, which will be important in a little while. And so all my pieces are going to develop very quickly. All of black's minor pieces instead are still sitting at home just watching the game. Not so good position for black this early in the game. So we'll continue. Black plays b6 because I presumed at the time that the bishop wanted to come out to b7 and probably play on this long diagonal, which makes sense. And then the knight was going to go to d7. I think this was black's plan for the queenside play, so that none of the pieces are jumbled up and they all get out. That makes a lot of sense. The only problem with b6 is that it ignores the threat from the white side, which I played next move, which is bishop to b5, which I mentioned in the last move. This is a check. I think my opponent figured he was safe because he can block with the bishop on d7, and he can also block with the knight on c6, so the queen's defending. So I think he had this false sense of safety because the black king can be defended. The only problem is that there's tactics, and because black used so much time in the opening, this is now going to be a problem to avoid these tactics. So there's just not enough moves for black to be able to defend here. So black continues with knight c6. And I gave this evaluation a blunder because the move should have been bishop to d7 to challenge the bishop. But now we, again, like I said, we open up now the game to tactics. If you want to try to figure out what white's move here is, you'll be able to solve the puzzle. And if you were at my last lesson on Monday, and we had gone over a similar position, if you'll remember from my lecture, that gives you a hint as to what this next move on the board is. So you can pause the video, try to guess it if you like, or just keep watching and learn from this move. And the idea is that now the knight on c6 is pinned. That's one of our tactics that we've been talking about in class, that when a piece is pinned, especially against the king, it cannot move. And when a piece is pinned, you want to try to attack it, because if you can attack it successfully, you can win the piece. So in this position, I played the move d5. So if you guessed it, good job. You see that the knight is being attacked, and also the pawn is also attacking the queen. This is another one of our tactics that we discussed in class, which is the fork, which is where one piece is attacking two pieces or two or more pieces at the same time. So the queen's under attack, the knight's under attack. The queen can move because the queen is not pinned, but the knight cannot move. It is pinned. And so that is the basis of the combination, and now black's going to start losing material here. So black moves queen to d6 to get out of the way, and of course I take the knight, not with the pawn, but with the bishop. So let's go back. I played that kind of fast. Taking with the knight would have been okay, but it wasn't the strongest move, because here, with the bishop move that I played, we have another fork. Check on the king with the bishop, and now an attack on the rook. And the queen cannot take the bishop, notice, because the pawn defends the bishop. So, strong move, bishop takes on c6 with the check, and the rook is now falling. Next move, black finally defends with bishop to d7, but it's too late because now bishop takes on a8. And we see now in the first 10 moves, black is already down a rook and a knight, so 8 points. This is a huge disadvantage for black. Black is losing this game, and he continues playing on because he's hoping for a miracle, that maybe he might be able to maybe take my queen and try to come back to this game. Can't fault him for that. This is a tournament game you want to play on, especially since there's still pieces on the board. There might be chances. So let's see how he continues. Knight f6. to finally develop the knight. Queen e2 by me. So now I'm getting my queen into the game, preparing to castle my kings and bring in my rooks. You'll see this strategy playing out very fast because I want to be sure that I don't start, even though I'm ahead material right now, I don't want to start dropping pieces, giving my opponent chances. So we're going to make sure that everything stays safe, everything stays protected, and we're going to start getting all of our pieces coordinated for a final attack on the king. Pawn plays to e6 to allow the bishop on e7 to get out and the king to castle. That's the plan. So now I play the rook to d1. So now if there's exchanges in the center, the rook will be able to come in with some play. Bishop to e7 by black. And now I played pawn takes on d6 with one of our other tactics now that we've gone over in class, which is a discovery. That is, when I move a piece out of the way, one of my other pieces behind it is now open with an attack on the enemy's position. A discovery attack by moving the pawn out of the way. Now the rook is attacking the queen and also putting pressure on the bishop on d7. So, strong move. And now so black plays a queen takes on e6, capturing the pawn and also getting the queen out of danger for the moment. I castle kingside, get my king in safety, and black does the same. Always a smart move. Now typically we want to castle as soon as we can in the game. In this game, both sides castled a little bit later than usual, but because of the way that the play went on, this is just how it happened, but we still castled at our earliest opportunity. I continue with bishop to d5 now, bringing the bishop back into the game. Notice that when black castled, the rook is now attacking the bishop. The bishop is undefended, so that was the idea behind getting the bishop out of danger and also attacking the queen again. So now the queen has to move, or no, she'll be lost, and black just does not want to lose the queen. So black takes on d5, just getting the bishop out of the way, and then I recapture knight on d5. Knight takes knight on d5. And always remember, when you are ahead of material in a chess game, the more pieces you can trade off, the stronger your position becomes. Because if you keep trading pieces like this, you have more pieces, your opponent will run out of pieces before you run out of pieces, and therefore you can get into a winning endgame. So exchanges help me, and so this is why we exchange those pieces. And so now black continues with bishop to d6, trying to get some pieces into the game and looking for some kind of attack. And now I continue with rook on f to e1, bringing my last rook into the game. You'll notice that because we exchanged the pawns in the center, these two files are what we call open files because there are no pawns blocking the way. So very natural play. We want to get our rooks into the open files, where as soon as the white pieces clear out of the way, the rooks will be able to come into the game, or as we'll see a little later, we have discovery attacks. Very powerful positions of these rooks. They're ready for whatever comes next. Black plays rook to e8 to do the same thing. Get your rook into the game on an open file, so that way he's looking to get some tactics and maybe win some material later. If I'm not careful, maybe even a back rank mate with the queen and rook battery. The battery is another tactic that we discussed in class, when the two pieces are lined up that move the same way. And so they're double powerful. So a lot of action going on this e-file on both players. So let's see what happens as the game continues. So I play queen to d3 just to get the queen and my other rook coordinated along the d file. Same idea, just different file now. Black plays bishop to c6, putting a little bit of pressure on the knight, but again, just trying to get some kind of play and then I played bishop to f4. Again, with our tactic, the discovery attack, we moved the bishop out of the way. Now the rook is attacking the queen on e6, and also the bishop is attacking the black bishop on d6. So a lot going on here. And I feel that at this point my opponent just got really really distracted with all of the pressure on the board. He's down a lot of material, the position is becoming worse and worse, and the queen is also kind of stuck because if the queen moves out of the way, the rook on e8 is going to be traded off, and he's going to lose even more material, and also his chances for maybe a tricky back rank checkmate on me. And so here I believe in that the pressure just got to him, and he played bishop to f4, which wasn't the best move, but there weren't a lot of really good moves either. So then now rook takes e6, and the queen is falling. He recaptures with the rook, and now I played the final move, knight takes on f4, and here black resigned the game, and white wins. There's just a lot of pressure, too much going on. The knight is attacking the rook on e6, so the rook has to move out of the way, and the rook really only has one logical move really to play back to e8, because if not, the queen's going to come back on d8 with checks, and it's going to get ugly for black. So just a tough position to play here. Black is just down way too much material. It's so hard to hold this. It's at top level tournaments, it's just not defendable. So resigning was probably the best way. Just get ready for the next round. Good, and just learn from the mistakes in the future. So, instructive game, we saw how these opening moves, moving pieces over and over and over again in the opening while your opponent is developing, bringing their pieces out, is going to catch up to you, and you're not going to have a lot of options. So let's go back real quick. And just for review and summary of how this position deteriorated so fast for black was starting with this d5 move. And then I think the best way here would have been for black just to develop the knight here and just try to take the pawn later in the game. And get your pieces out even if you drop a pawn, and it was better to take with the knight than take with the queen. But because black decided to take with the queen, that allowed the knight to come to c3 with tempo, and white just got a lot of free moves. And that became really dangerous for the black position and just couldn't hold. And once the tactics started to appear on the board, it was all over. So I hope that you learned a few things from this game. It was a really short game, and critical position here on move 8, where the idea, you have a pinned piece, you want to attack the pinned piece, and you can win that material. And it was just tactic after tactic all over the board. These are the most exciting games sometimes in chess, and they're rare in tournament competition at my level, but when they do occur, they definitely are instructive, and I like to share them with my students. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. More videos to come, so stay tuned, and I will see you at the next video. Thank you.